Welcome in, everybody, to the very first podcast of Finders Flippers.
Hey, guys, I am Johnny from Frizzy's Finds.
And I am Stewart from Franklin Hill Ventures.
We are part of the Finders Flippers, and it's a pleasure to join you gentlemen tonight on this podcast, the very first one of Finders Flippers.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. It's good. Good to be doing it.
Absolutely. So the first thing I think we need to flip out there and get off the table is FlipCon. I did not attend. I wanted to. I had FlipCon envy, I guess. Johnny, you were able to go. Kind of give us a little quick synopsis of what you were doing.
Yeah, it was great. So it was like 2 full days. It was in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was put on by Harry Tornado. He did last year, which we got to go do, and then we went again this year. And it was just so much better this year. You know, I think he learned a lot from what he did last time and what worked and what didn't. And it's obviously reselling focused, but it's much more content and social media focused versus maybe actual like reselling, which, you know, is fine. It's all part of the marketing and stuff like that. But this year they had some breakout groups and you could pick kind of what topics interested you the most. So we did some social media marketing stuff. We took a course on short form content, but they also had other things like taxes and things like that. That was really cool. Growing your business and all sorts of things like that.
Well, I know we had talked, and once you got back, we had kind of texted back and forth about, you were talking about the social media aspect of it. Can you kind of dive into a little bit more of what you were hearing from that? Because I know several people are either wanting to start a podcast or are starting podcasts or have been doing it for a long time. What are some things that they talked about with you all?
A lot of it was just do it, right? You're better off putting out poor content than no content at all, and just get better and improve as you go. So just do it, just get it out there. Whether it's you want to start an idea. There was a lady there who was asking questions and they're like, okay, like what's your YouTube channel? And she's like, I don't have one. And they're like, okay, what's your Instagram? And she's like, I don't have one. So they were like, just get one up, like take some photos, just post it, just get out there. So a lot of it was just get out there. Podcasts are definitely the thing now. Like everyone's kind of starting this. This is kind of the new wave that's coming in. But again, it was get it out there. And one thing that they kept saying was the cream always rises to the top. So if you're good, you're going to be good, right? And if you're bad, it's going to be bad, whether there's 1,000 people doing these or 3 people doing these. The good stuff will stand out. And then a lot of it in terms of like if you're making YouTube videos or you're making shorts and stuff like that, it's like just short, like quick to the point, hook them in and then kind of get out of there. But it was a lot of information. I know when talking about the short form content, Carrie American Arbitrage kind of led that. And I mean, he's got over like 1 million subscribers between his platforms, so knows what he's doing. And he's like, you don't need all the like fancy apps to make your stuff in, just make good stuff, get it out there, and then be consistent. Just always be posting. So it was good food for thought for sure.
Just going to say to echo what Johnny said, I was at Camp Listing Party, very similar in format to FlipCon, and Kevin Commonwealth Picker was up there, and he said much the same thing. And he still said he edits all his videos from his phone, so you don't have to go out and spend $1 million on tools to be successful. But I mean, they also stressed, I mean, if you're getting into this to try to make money, you're getting into it for the wrong reason. I mean, he basically said out of every, he said, I'm probably being conservative here, but out of every 100 people who get into it, one person's going to end up making money doing it. And he said, that's probably, it's probably a lot higher than that. So do it because you like it, and don't go into it thinking, you're going to get rich doing it. Because, I mean, even people who are successful, I mean, I'm not monetized yet, so I don't know how much you make, but I know even people who you would think of successful YouTubers are not getting rich doing YouTube. There's only a handful of people, Harry Tornado, Commonwealth Flipper, American Arbitrage, those people, they're making pretty good money doing it. But, you've also got to decide, are you going to be a reseller or are you going to be a content creator? I mean, this is my opinion. I think you can do both, but you have to pick which one you're going to make your focus as far as where you want your revenue to come from. I mean, I think Josh will tell you he considers himself a content creator first. They do enough reselling just to give them content. They're making most of their money off the content creation side. And I don't ever really see myself. I think I'll always be on the reselling side. And I have been putting a focus on my YouTube channel a little more. I mean, I actually had a video, my last one, I almost got 1,000 views. And for me, I mean, that's unheard of. I've never even come close to that. So I was excited about that.
Well, that is exciting. I'm up on the Slim Flippers podcast. I'm up to 61 subscribers now. So, slow crawl, but like you said, I'm not trying to become famous. I'm not trying to, whatever it is you want to call it. I'm just enjoying, like you gentlemen, meeting new friends and talking about the resale game and actually trying to learn as I go. And this is I guess I'm a visual learner. If I can see it and hear about it, I feel like I do get better at the craft. I've been at it now, a little while, but I think I'm getting better at it. I do. I on my YouTube channel, I put up a short video the other day. Are we real resellers? Because my wife and I, we tend to question some things when you don't have sales going out the door, and you're just like, what? I went 4 or 5 days and didn't sell anything. So, but today, like within a 10-minute period, I sold 9 things, just like that.
That's awesome, man.
And that's the first for me. So I don't know. I can see how somebody getting into it gets frustrated and just says, "No, I'm not going to do this." But it's like you said, it's a long haul. It's not a short burst and then there you are. But Stewart, like you were talking about, you either decide which side of that you're on. But is it possible to be down the middle?
I mean, I think it's possible, but I think to really be like, if you want to, and once again, this is my opinion. I think if you want to make a full-time living, you're going to have a hard time putting enough time into one side or the other. Because I know just from the little bit of content creation I've done, I mean, and you're talking just a little bit. I mean, just to edit a simple video, takes a good while. And, that's time you can spend listing if you are a reseller. So I'm not saying it's impossible. And I'm sure there's probably an example of somebody out there who's, I know there's people who've monetized their YouTube channel who also are successful resellers. But, if you're talking about people making 6 figures just from YouTube, my guess is they're spending the majority of their time on the content creation side. So could be wrong, but that's just kind of based on what I've seen and heard from people.
And some of those, those like top people, they outsource, getting their videos edited and stuff like that. So there's a little bit more to it. I know, for us, again, being at the infancy of this journey, our content is whatever's happening, right? Like, hey, we went to the bins, you came with us, we're packing orders, you're with us packing orders. So we're not out there, doing challenges and, things like that, where I think that's where you're starting to get into more of the content creating, like trying to flip my house or buy my dream home or whatever. Like, no, we're just doing this, and some weeks are going to be good and some aren't going to be good. And I think the one thing that I really appreciate about the social media aspect of it, whether you're at 4 followers or 400,000, is like the three of us here right now. This doesn't happen without some kind of a social media, right? Like, you're not going through people's eBay stores and being like, "Hey, notice you have a really nice eBay store. You want to talk about it?" Like, no. So I just appreciate, what social media has offered, in the community, and whatever it leads to, it leads to. And I'll gladly quit my job and make YouTube videos all day, but probably no time soon. Yeah.
But like, Stewart and I, we both grew up in the same backyard, and I didn't know about him. He didn't know about me. I mean, I think he knew of my family because we all played basketball and everything, and he had played some basketball, but we didn't ever actually meet each other until, he had sent me a message and I talked to him that way. But like you say though, Johnny, it's the social media presence is helpful. I mean, it's actually given me a little bit more confidence as far as when I'm out there on the yard sale trail, being more, I don't think the word assertive is, but more open to talking to people, but finding out about their stories. So that means a lot to me. People have got a lot of different stories out there in the world.
You're right, Wes. I mean, the reasons people get into reselling, it's so interesting to hear all the different paths people have taken, to get there. I mean, mine was as simple as having two competitive brothers, and we would compete to see who could go buy stuff at a yard sale and, sell it for the most. And that's really what led all three of us into reselling at different levels.
Well, and it's like Johnny, they go out and they source together. Me and my wife do. So I have an unspoken competition with my wife, but she beats me all the time. Like I was telling you about the 9 that I sold, she had told me this morning she had 6 sales. I said, I only had 3. And about that time, my phone started blowing up. I mean, it was like boom, 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 boom. I said, here we go. And then, of course, she leapfrogged me again this afternoon. So.
Yeah, my wife's kicking my butt this month. She just on her walk. She walks every morning at like 5 a.m. And so in the last month and a half, she's found 3 Adirondack chairs that were free on the side of the road. And she calls me, hey, can you bring the car over here? We got to get these. And she sold 2 of those so far for $80. And
That's
then
awesome.
she found in the trash, somebody had thrown out one of those ceramic Christmas trees and then like a brass, like gooseneck lamp. And we sold the ceramic Christmas tree in one of our booths for $75 and the brass lamp for like $60. So, just on her walk, she's basically found $200 lying on the side of the road. So,
wow. So if we're talking to the brand new reseller that's thinking about starting that podcast or wanting a little bit of information as far as getting started, and I'm wanting to focus on I'll throw out an arbitrary number. Let's say 7 different things. Okay. What 7 different things from stuff that we've known that we've done over the year or 2 or 3 that we've been reselling or however long, what is some things that we could give those people, the 7 things, if we could give them something?
Hey, I'm going to take notes too, because
I want to hear it.
This is like one of my first podcasts I've ever been on. So,
well, I think number one is what Johnny said. Get started.
Just do it.
I mean, just get started.
Well, it's so much easier now than at any time. I mean, like I think you said you use the Spotify, and they have a whole suite of tools, don't they, to develop podcasts now that are completely free, is my understanding. So, it used to you had to go buy a bunch of equipment to be able to do it. Now I'm not using anything but my built-in web camera and my microphone on my computer, to do stuff. And that's really all you need. So yeah, I think just get started if you want to do it.
Yeah. And the social media aspect of it, where like you were talking about Spotify, I didn't know about it until 3 weeks ago. And then I found out, well, I take that back. I had talked to a couple of people and they said, you need to do it. But I never really gave it another thought until about 3 weeks ago. And then now I've already dropped 2 or 3 videos on there of our content, our podcast. So, they come in video form, they come in audio form. And, like Johnny, you're talking about on your way to work, you've got a fairly good drive. You said you listen to things like that. So you never know what you can pick up on these things.
Yeah. And I mean, just put anything into YouTube. There's a video for it, we bought like a gimbal where we can walk around and it will, kind of move with you so you keep steady. And I had no idea how to use it. Went to YouTube. There's like 500 videos on that same exact model I got. So just research, but like we said, and like I said before, just start and figure out what you need or don't need, or, whatever it is. But just do it. And, when it comes to like your social media post, just what do you like to do? If you, like selling dolls, post about dolls. There's niches for everything. And there's people out there who want to learn from those niches. Right. So,
right.
If you're, there's the one lady that's like the Cabbage Patch dolls and everything she does is Cabbage Patch dolls. Well, yeah, if you come across one and you're like, hey, you know what? She told me to watch out for this. Like, you just learn from it. So just get into what you like, and just, if you want to grow from there, grow. And if you don't, don't.
Which I have two of those now because of her. And I went to an estate sale last week, and this lady, I was getting ready to go in this room, and I bypassed it and went into another room. And I come back, she's coming out. She's got three of them in her hands. So I was like, well, there goes some profit.
But like we do, like all of, Frizzy does mostly women's clothing, and she learns from watching. She'll watch YouTube shows. She watches Whatnots, and the sellers talk about brands and styles, and just picks up notes from there. So I think if you really want to get into this and you really want to be good at it, just be a sponge. And you can niche and specialize in whatever you want, or you can sell everything, but just kind of, you have to want to learn, because that's just how you get better at it. You had mentioned, social media making you more confident with talking to people. I think from a year and a half of Resell, like, your stuff more than you did 18 months ago, and not as much as you will in 18 months. But I think that a lot of that makes you more confident in your conversations or even your negotiations, right? Like, no, that I want 40 for that. No, this thing's only worth $20, right. And you can have those.
Right. And that's some of the toughest parts. But people are like, I don't want to haggle with somebody. That's a hard part of going in there. But if you have a price in your head and it's not where you need it to be, your bottom line, I mean, you have to have that ability to walk away and just say, thank you so much. I appreciate it, which is tough. So number one, we're saying get started. Number two, I like what you just said, Johnny. Be a sponge. Start soaking up. Just learn from as many different people. Stewart, you've talked about several of the big resellers. Is there any that you've seen though online that I'm not going to call them middle of the road, but ones that are not as prevalent as a Harry Tornado or Commonwealth Picker of them?
I mean, to be honest, Wes, I don't watch a lot of YouTube. The ones I watch a lot of Primetime Treasure Hunter. Dominic, I think he's really good. And he's probably above middle of the road. He's not like the Harry Tornado category, some of those, but he's pretty big. But to piggyback on what Johnny said, I think, watching other, like, and I'm saying this, I don't watch a lot, but I do watch some. Like during lunch, I'll usually watch YouTube videos now. And I think you can learn a lot from other people, but I think you also have to be yourself. You can't be what somebody else is. You can learn content and learn what works and what doesn't from a technical standpoint from other people. But ultimately, you've got to have your own personality. If you're funny, it's going to come across. You can't try to be funny and you're not funny. It's just like when you mentioned Whatnot, there's a million selling styles out there. I've been pretty successful in Whatnot. And I'm probably one of the most laid back sellers out there. Then you have other people, who scream and holler and do whatever. So I think the social media side is probably exactly like that. The YouTube videos I've made, I think, what you see now is kind of what you get. I come across as pretty laid back and, I can make a funny wisecrack every now and then, but for the most part, pretty laid back personality. So I think being yourself would be a real important one to put on that list.
Okay, so we're at get started, number one. Number two, be a sponge. Number three, be yourself. I think that's great advice, because I think a lot of people that fail at it or either burn out really quickly, they're not being true to who they are and what they're really wanting to do with it. I think another one, and this could be number four, is have a direction that you want to go, because some people just go taking off into one path or another, and they're just kind of shooting by the hip. To me, you've got to have a plan or a game plan, so to speak. Have your direction where you're wanting to take whatever it is you're wanting to do. I don't know how you all feel about that, but if you would like to elaborate.
Yeah, and I think some of that would probably depend on what you want to ultimately get out of it. Just from, going back to Primetime Treasure Hunter, I have heard him say before, like his videos used to tend to be more like all over the board of different kinds of videos. He'd have sorting videos, he'd have how-to videos, he'd have, just videos of whatever he's doing. And I think he's pretty much niched down to most of his videos now are sourcing videos, because that's the kind of videos that let his personality shine through, be himself. And that's what people have come to expect when they go to his channel to watch it. They don't want to necessarily see him telling them how to, package something or do this. They want to watch him out at an estate sale or whatever. So, yeah, I think it's important to, if you want to make your channel successful from the standpoint of your goal is to really grow it and attract an audience and ultimately monetize it. And I do think it's probably important that you niche down. If you just want to do it for a hobby, it probably doesn't matter. You can probably throw whatever you want out there and, have, here's the video of me going to the grocery store or whatever. But yeah, mine just for me, like mine tend to be a mix of, like I did 2 sourcing videos, one from the US 127 yard sale, one from the US 21 yard sale. And those have been, well, the US 127 was my most successful video. That's the one I'm almost at 1,000 views on that one. And then the second most successful one was my wife and I cleaning our garage out, and it's just, we kind of played off each other and, up until the other one came out, that was our most successful one. So that was 2 completely different kinds of videos. But, so yeah, to your point, I think it depends on, what you want to get out of your YouTube channel ultimately. So.
Well, last night, we had went to an auction for my wife's work, and they were auctioning off some items and stuff. And we had our little 4-year-old granddaughter with us, and she thought it was the funniest thing listening to the auctioneer.
Yeah, I saw that.
she laughed. I just showed like 30 seconds of it, but she laughed. For 15 minutes, just carrying on about that auctioneer. She goes, "How does he talk that fast, Pop?"
So where did you go to the auction, Wes? If you don't mind saying.
It was down at Rothschild's.
Okay.
The Ducks Unlimited. They have a thing where they auction off a whole lot of equipment and pictures and drawings and just all kinds of stuff. So my wife's involved in that. So we went on down there to Rothschild's on Kingston Pike. But yeah, my little granddaughter, it just cracked me up. I said, I've got to put this up. If it makes me laugh, I like to put things up like that too. I don't take myself so seriously, And
can I ask y'all a question? Sure. I'm not sure. So on the YouTube videos y'all made, have y'all done many sourcing videos like at yard sales and thrift shops and things of that nature? How do you film when you're out? Are you just using your cell phone? Do you have a GoPro? Do you have some other method? I'm just, like I ran into the Bearded Thrift Machine at the 127 and, talked to him a lot. Of course, he's pretty big time and he had his GoPro and everything. And, I tend to just use my camera, but, I haven't been doing it that long and I'm still a little you're kind of self-conscious when you're there filming, or at least I am. I know some people probably aren't. So I was just curious how y'all handled that.
Yeah, we haven't made many videos yet, but we do all of our sourcing. If we're at the bins or we go to garage sales, we have a chest mount and then have the GoPro on our chest. No one really says anything. Somebody came up to us once and was like, "Are you an influencer?" And I was like, "No, no." And honestly, if people ask, normally I'm like, "Oh, new toy, just playing with it," and no one thinks anything of it. But there's a couple people at our Goodwill bins that use them, so I feel like people who are there are used to somebody recording something. So. But we use our phone for any of our short content, just so we get that vertical. We'll use our phone for that.
Well, I started off trying to film. I had one of those. I had a backpack on and had a strap up here beside me, and it was just. I felt like Big Bird with radar on. So I was like, I cannot do this. I'm 6'6" anyway, and here's this 6'6" guy, and he's got this big old camera, GoPro on his shoulder. And I just felt like, everybody was just staring at me. And I started thinking, I'm like, I don't have to do this. This is what other people do. And that's where we were talking about just a second ago. You be you. And that's just not me. I think a lot of that content is out there, and I know a lot of people enjoy it, but I don't have to film it. per se. Now, I will film some stuff with my phone if it's something unique that we find and we're up close on it. And I'm like, I want people to see what we're picking up. That's different if I'm just looking at my phone, I feel.
Yeah.
But just going in there with guns ablazing, I don't really want to draw attention to myself in that way because I already do that by my height, I guess.
Whenever Lizzie will wear it, she'll have it, but she'll wear like a light jacket in the summer, and so she'll zip it. And then if she's like, "Oh, there's good stuff," she'll zip it down and up and turn it on. But no, people don't normally say anything. We like it. A lot of people like watching like Goodwill bin content. So for us, it's down and you're kind of down working. So it's not so like, here it is.
Maybe I'll ask for a GoPro for my birthday next June then. So, right now, when I do it, I just use my camera, but a lot of times it's hard to hold your camera and do other things sometime. And then I'll forget too, just, you get caught up in something and I'll forget to turn it on, where I guess if you got the GoPro, it's always filming. But I know there are going back to Primetime Treasure Hunter again. He's pretty big and he only uses his cell phone and somehow does everything one-handed, but
I think it's a talent. I really do. And, I'm not that talented yet. I don't feel very comfortable with doing that. All right. So we're looking at, so far I've got, get started, be a sponge, be yourself, have a game plan. What's three of the things that we could tell those new folks that are wanting to get involved in the reselling game?
And just kind of to piggyback off for a little bit, I think one of the things that they were talking a lot at FlipCon too was pivoting, right? So somebody with 300,000 followers, Stu, to your point, they're not going to do like, this is what box I use for, for sending shoes, because people are past that with them. But I do think that that's something new, like somebody new who's trying to build trust out there where people can learn from you. I think you have to know kind of what content people are looking for. I think channels that are growing quickly right now are very informative channels where they're talking about what sells, what doesn't sell. And it's not, someone like us with 400 followers saying, "Oh, we're trying to buy a dream home." Like people are like, "Who are you?" But, right. Kind of building that trust and being able to pivot and know when to pivot. So I think the tricky part with social media from a YouTube standpoint is you have to do you and what you're comfortable with and what you want to do, but to a degree, because it also has to resonate with other people as well. So I think just kind of defining who you are, but also knowing what your audience is looking for as well.
Okay,
so probably more of a 4A than a 5, but
yeah, and kind of on a similar note, is look at different platforms other than just YouTube. Depending on what your audience is, and what you're either pushing in your videos. I know that a lot of people have. You can monetize on TikTok, you can monetize on Instagram, and I know the Instagram Shorts or the Instagram Reels rather. And of course, TikTok. It's. I think in some ways, if you can catch like a cool moment, you can blow up on TikTok or Instagram a lot quicker than you can on YouTube. So I think I don't know how you get that into a number on the list, but I guess just make sure you explore all the different video platforms that are out there and don't get hung up on just YouTube. So.
I agree. I actually am now on TikTok as the Slim Flippers.
Nice. Have you danced? Have you danced on there yet, Wes?
You'll be surprised.
I am on TikTok too, but I haven't danced. I think me asking my dog if she wants to go to the post office with me is my biggest video on there so far. So she goes nuts.
Well, my wife and I 2 years ago, there was of course the TVA fair in Knoxville. When we went to the fair, it was Rick Springfield. And my wife loves Rick Springfield, and she had bought us tickets to go in, and we were on the 40th row back. And she's like, "Well, this is the best I could do. We're sitting in the center, but I said, "Yeah, this is okay." I said, "But you really like Rick Springfield." What she didn't know, a guy that I ref basketball with was working the fair, and he was working the theater there. And he said, "Hey, when you get there, just text me and I'll be on my way. I'm going to do something for you. So we're sitting there and he comes walking up the aisle and he goes, hey y'all doing? Doing great. He said, come on down here. I got to show y'all something real quick. He took us all the way down to the first row.
Brownie points there.
Do what?
Said brownie points.
Oh, absolutely. And I spent the entire time trying to get a selfie with him. So I kept turning my camera around and I had it on record. That's the best way to do it because you can pull pictures off your recording.
Yeah.
So I kept telling my wife, turn around. He'd walk away from us. I said, turn around. He'd walk away from us. So finally, he walked over to us and he's right in the middle of a song. And he gets up behind me and he just reaches in and he smiles real big. So I put that on TikTok and it's got 14.3K on it now. And I don't get it. I'll just tell you, I don't get it. I just thought it was a funny moment, but
that's
all the other videos are like 100. Do what?
That's what people like, though. It's that kind of like, it just has to have that, like, that's cool. And like, that's what you need. Right.
And it wasn't a moment where I'm like, Rick, you'll walk over here. I planned it out. Yeah. It just happened. Here he come. And he wasn't, upset about it. Me, doing a selfie or whatever. He just joined in with us. So I thought that was a neat moment. But having that presence, I think on your social media outlets, wherever you're wanting to go, I think you need to also have, I know like several guys, when they go to yard sales and stuff, they take business cards and they have like their little, their QR codes on the back of it. And I think that's a neat idea. I don't know how you all feel about that.
Oh, I hand my business card out at every yard sale I go to, every thrift shop, anybody will take them. And and I've gotten calls. I literally got a call. It's been about a month ago now, but I got a call from somebody that I was at their yard sale 3 years ago. And they remembered I bought some magazines from them. And they said, hey, we found a whole nother couple of boxes of magazines if you're interested. And I ended up going over there, not buying anymore, but, still it was just, those kind of opportunities are what you get by getting your name out there.
Johnny, you've got, I know you have stickers. You had sent me some. What do you do with those stickers? Do you hand them out when you're out and about too? Kind of like Commonwealth Picker does?
Yeah, not to that degree, because no one really cares who we are. But I do keep them on me, and if anybody asks, I'll give it to them. Or if we go to a yard sale that has things that are like an interest to me, and I know they're going through some other stuff, it's kind of, I guess, our business card a little bit. But we passed a lot of them out at FlipCon and stuff like that. We sell them in our Whatnot shows. People like to tip on Whatnot and stuff like that. So we use those to send to our buyers. And whenever we get repeat buyers on eBay, we put them in the orders for the repeat buyers.
It's like Johnny. I take my business cards to all yard sales and hand them out. And it's led to a lot of, people calling me back. And really post-COVID, since in-person auctions have gone away, relationships have been really my number one way of sourcing, and a lot of those come from handing my business cards out. I've been doing it long enough now that my name, at least in the Knoxville area, is out there pretty well. So I get at least, 1 to 3 or 4 calls a week from people wanting me to, come look at stuff that they're selling. So, I just, and it's, you can go to any of these websites that do business cards, and they're really inexpensive. So it's definitely a good investment. And a good way to help build your business.
Now, Stewart, do you have a QR code on yours?
Yeah, here's one of mine right here, actually. And I may redesign it a little bit, when I get new ones. I'm about out, but, right now I don't think I have my email address on there. But yeah, my QR code just goes to my website, which is a Linktree site that has links to all my different sites that I'm on. So.
And Johnny, do you have a separate QR code with yours, or is it just?
Yeah. So on our sticker, it's our logo, and then there's a QR code, and that QR code goes to our Linktree as well. So then it just has all our socials on it, and our emails on there too when you go through the Linktree.
So like you all were talking about, it invites a private pick possibly. and those are fun. I've been involved in a couple of those and pulled some really nice items. The private picks, though, Stewart, you said that you have many times over the years been involved in private picks. What a great way to source, though, if you can get yourself out there on those business cards, which I'll admit I don't have any cards and I don't have any stickers, but that is going to be one thing that I am getting ready to fix. I'm going to get my own QR code going, and I want to be able to, because you try to explain it to somebody at a yard sale or something, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And then you can just pull that card out and go, "Here it is," But does that affect how people sell to you?
I mean, I have not found that it does. I mean, like every once in a blue moon, you might run into somebody who, because you're a reseller, they act different in the way they're going to sell to you, but most people don't care. And most people can tell you're a reseller. I think I said whenever I was on your show last time, Wes, that, you're at a yard sale and there's some, 56-year-old man like me looking at toys. And yeah, you could be buying it for your grandkid, but I mean, I've literally heard people like, "Oh, are you buying that for, to resell?" And they hem and haw, and I mean, it's obvious they are. And so, I mean, I think it's better just to say, "Yeah, I buy this to resell. Do you have any more of this item?" Or I used to, well, not used to, I still do. Pretty much any yard sale I go to, I always ask, "Hey, do you have any vinyl records that you don't have out?" And that's led to like me getting to go inside, and they're either like, "Yeah, I got some. I didn't think anybody even bought those." Now that was 3 or 4 years ago. Now most people know that they're pretty popular again. But yeah, I think own the fact you're a reseller, whether you're at a yard sale or a thrift shop. Every once in a while, maybe it's going to have a negative connotation, but in my experience, it's almost always either neutral or positive.
Well, that's been my concern. Just like the video cameras is trying to put a spotlight on me for either out there sourcing to resell it. And I'm trying to not do that. But I think it's a fine line that you're riding on. You vacillate between going over and making somebody mad about it, or you come back on the other side. They're like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to get rid of it. But to me, it's a fine line, and I teeter on it every time.
Yeah. I mean, I just think, it's a crapshoot, right? I mean, some people may say, I hate resellers, don't buy my stuff. But usually in those situations, people want this stuff gone and they don't really care what you do with it. Just, get it out of their garage. So, we've talked to some people about, flipping it and stuff like that, kind of when you're negotiating and stuff like that. But most people don't care. Some do, but those are more the exceptions than the rule, I think.
Right. So our top 6 that I've been writing down here, the first one is, just get started, be a sponge is number 2. Be yourself, 3, 4, game plan, 5, pivot and be informative. 6, get your presence out there like we had just talked about in several different ways. What would be one of the last things that we could tell the new person if they're jumping into the resale game? What would be the one? And it could be something different. I think we all agree on what we're talking about, but what would be your last one thing?
I would say do it because you enjoy it. Like, don't force it. Whether it's social media and content or reselling, I work that 9 to 5 and then come home and, work 5 to 10 after that. And if I didn't love it and really enjoy it, it would be misery. So just do what you love. If you're trying to get into a niche that you enjoy, like, I'm a sucker for hats. Hats sell at $10 a piece, very slowly. But I enjoy it, so I don't care. So just do it for the right reasons. Because, we talked before, if you're trying to do YouTube to make money, it's not going to happen. If you are kind of desperate for money trying to resell, like, you won't enjoy it. So just make sure it's something you enjoy.
And Stewart?
I agree completely. Whether it's social media we're talking about, or just reselling in general, as soon as it becomes like a job, you're going to hate it. And I resell full time for the most part. I do some IT consulting as well, but mean, for the most part, I'm a full-time reseller, supplement with IT consulting income. And, I mean, I've been doing it a little over 2 years now, or I guess it's almost 2 years. And, I still really enjoy it. And I guess the day it seems like it's a job when I wake up, that's when I might as well go back and do something where I can make more money. So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've said this on several of my videos. To me, it's just a hobby, something that I honestly like to do. It's something that I want to do. It makes me happy. And we've said this earlier in the podcast, how I get to meet a lot of different people, people that I would have never, ever talked to or ever met. And I consider you all friends to me now.
Absolutely.
And, it's Johnny and I, we've been on 3 or 4 of them now together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're starting to be.
This is our 4th.
Yeah. And Stewart, it's our 2nd together. So I love to watch things grow. You just add a little water, a little fertilizer, and you just see what happens, see what it maturates into. Me being a teacher, that's I love that, but we always have to have something, to me, that's an outlet that you can just get away from being that coach for a little while. It's something that I want to do. I do it through either reffing basketball or now reselling. And I had a funny one happen last year during a game. I had somebody that actually recognized me. They said, "I've seen one of your videos before. Are you a reseller?" And I'm like, maybe. That's concerning when you're an official. So anyway, I don't know. During games, I'll sit there during the timeout and I'll look at people's hats they're wearing now. I'm like, ooh, I could sell that. I could get this out of that. I'm just looking at the crowd, just going, oh, that's a great shirt.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that, Wes. Anytime I get, I deal mostly vintage antique stuff. So not a lot of hats, not a lot of clothes. Although, I mean, if I find them, I will pick them up and sell them. But anytime I'm at somebody's house, I mean, I'm just constantly looking, oh, I could sell that. I could sell that. And, so Amy gets on to me because I'll be looking around to elbow me. I know what you're doing,
Well, I can't stop it now. It's like this switch has been turned on, and I'm just looking, and I'm not, I'm just taking it all in. I'm not really wanting to do anything with it, but I'm like, I could sell that hat for $15. Ooh, that's a great shirt, man. I want to get rid of it.
So yesterday, Lizzie and I, we were in Goodwill, and this guy walks in with a shark tooth. And it was a New York Knicks hat. And I was like, oh, all right, I'm buying this off this guy's head, right? And I was like, I even just double checked comps real quick because not all shark tooths are, like anything, not all the same, right? So the Knicks ones are going for $360. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So I go in and I'm like, hey, man, nice hat. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. Do you like vintage too? And I was like, never mind. Forget it.
Yeah, if they know. You're not buying that.
Yeah. As soon as he was like, oh, you like vintage? Like, never mind. Yeah, keep it.
That's hilarious.
Well, out of all that, did you get a number 7 yet, Wes? I don't know. Did we come with was it enjoy yourself? Was that?
I think that has to be it. I mean, enjoy the ride. It has to be enjoy the ride, and because if you're not, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work if you're not enjoying it. It's just like my career in teaching. I don't feel like I've worked in 26 years because I absolutely love what I do.
And reselling can turn into work really fast. I mean, if you're not fully into it, because having to go out and source and find things that's fun. But if you have to, you're talking paycheck to paycheck kind of stuff, there's stress to that. Shipping, sometimes you can't find the right box. There's stress to that.
And build the box.
Yeah, right. Your Frankenbox and stuff. And if you don't love that, or at least can kind of take those challenges and then move from it, this can get weary fast. I mean, Wes, you talked about not having sale for 4 or 5 days. For us, this is second and this is bonus money. But if it's not, and you don't have sales for 5 days,
I mean, and
You just depressed me, Johnny.
full time, I have slowdowns, and it's
Oh,
no
boy.
fun.
What'd you say, Stewart? I'm sorry.
I just said, yeah, I mean, and, me being full time, I mean, I still have slowdowns and, it's stressful. And then, usually, I don't know why it's so cyclical like that. It's almost like, I sell on 6 different platforms, but eBay's where I sell probably the most. I mean, it is like eBay, there's somebody at eBay with this spigot, it's like,
All right.
okay, let's let those sales flow. And then they just turn it off. It's, because it's just weird how that works. And, I don't, my brother, who was a full-time reseller for a while as well, I mean, we used to call each other because we would both have examples of things that had been sitting out there for 2 years. I mean, let's say, I don't know, some, can't even think of a good example right now, but just some widget. You might have 3 of those listed, a quantity of 3 out there for 2 years. They don't sell. And then literally within 1 day, you sell all 3 of them to 3 different buyers. I mean, it makes no sense logically why that would happen unless eBay's, doing some kind of pulling of strings. Now, you talk to people at eBay or, other people, they say, no, it's all based on how good your title is and how good your pictures. Well, nothing changed with my titles or pictures in the 2 years that thing was listed, and they all sold in 1 day. So I don't know. The mysteries of eBay will never figure out.
There's a very big mystery. Here's what I want to know, and you all let me know if you think something otherwise. But I worked and worked and worked. Let's see, last weekend I did I think it was 28 listings. I got myself all the way up to 500 listings, just like a day or 2 ago. I get to 500, and then that happened to me. I sold those 9 things.
Hey, that's a good problem.
Yeah.
No, it's a great problem. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like, I hit that plateau, and then there it goes back. I'm down to 491 now. So, but what a great problem to have. That thing's moving.
Yeah. So. People keep buying my stuff.
I mean, what is this? But I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna get me 9 more listings. I'm gonna get back to 5, and I dare them to do it to me again.
Yeah, another question for you, Johnny. You said you sell and whatnot. Have you found that's upped your sourcing stress by a lot because of the quantity? It used to be, I mean, like I sell mostly ephemera, but I mean, I was selling before that a lot of different things. But the difference, you sell, you're happy you wake up on Monday morning, you got 8 or 9 things from eBay to ship out. You run a 2-hour whatnot show and you sell 40, 50 things. And it's like, how am I going to replace this stuff? I mean, it's like just the whole stress of sourcing's up to another level because of whatnot. I guess it's a good problem to have, but it's, where am I going to find that next thing?
Well, and that's the thing with Whatnot too, is we found ourselves sourcing for Whatnot, which almost made it like a second job, right? And when we first started, we were just doing hat shows before Lizzie started doing her women's clothing shows. And I used to go to the bins like twice a week. I'd find like 40 hats and we'd sell them on Whatnot and just do it again and do it again and do it again. And then like the vintage kid presence and the vintage stuff really picked up into gear. And all of a sudden, everybody was buying hats. And then I'm stressing, and it's like, we have a Whatnot show at 8:00. I work till 5. I'm running to the bins, get there at 5:30, try to source for an hour so I can come home and add them to the show. And it just got to a point where it was like, this is nuts. And we went from doing weekly hat shows to, I do them once a month, once every other month, when I can let some good stuff build up. And it's because I was stressing out over finding hats to do a show. And it became a job, right?
Yeah, we have very similar experiences on Whatnot. I mean, I had to back off Whatnot because of exactly what you said. It became such a focus for me for a period of time that it was at the expense of all the other online marketplaces I sold on. And I mean, I was doing pretty well on Whatnot, but I mean, you're at least in the categories I sell in. I mean, you're not going to get the same margins you do on eBay. I mean, it's the fast nickel versus the slow dime
for sure
deal. And I mean, I was just spending so much time every week getting ready for a weekly Whatnot show. So now I've backed off to every other week. and I try to only spend like the week of the show working on Whatnot, and the other week I focus completely on other things. So it's just so easy for Whatnot to consume you.
Yeah, and there was a point where Whatnot was our number one platform, and that was just doing a hat show a week, because we were doing like $400 or $500 a show, selling used hats in an hour and a half, like just unreal. And then you had to source for it. Then it became a thing. And then all of a sudden sales dropped off, right? Because there's so many more sellers on the platform that your $400 or $500 shows were $150, $200. And you're like, I am doing all this work and shipping 50 orders and, all of this stuff. And it's like, it's not worth it. And so we've kind of made a commitment going into fall and winter to try to build it back up again. But it can be a lot, and it can be a lot real quick.
And I do think like the categories you're selling in hats, you're right. I mean, if you go, I'm sure if we went and looked right now, there's no telling how many hat shows would be going on. And, at least in ephemera, where I've pretty much niched down to just ephemera and Whatnot. I've started out, I do like a glass show here and an ephemera show, and then I might do, collectibles. But I found that, ephemera, if I sell 50 items, I mean, you're basically just stacking paper and throwing it in a box or envelope and shipping it. Where glass, I mean, I don't mind shipping glass. I ship glass all the time. But when you have 50 pieces of glass to ship, that's an all-day commitment the next day on your packing. So I've just, for the most part, quit selling. And I have so many outlets for glass with my booths and other online marketplaces.
But using those shipping supplies, I mean, there's a cost to that too. So if you're bubble wrapping, if you're buying boxes, if you're putting paper in it on top of it, and all of a sudden it costs you $2 or $3 to ship an item, and then you times 50, all of a sudden you're an extra $150 into it, and it's like, man.
Yeah, I mean, and my shipping supply costs with the kind of stuff I sell, on eBay and Etsy and Mercari and all the other places I sell. I mean, it's going to be higher than y'all shipping hats and things like that, because I mean, I do use, I mean, I'm the self-proclaimed China King of Knoxville because I sell so much China. And I mean, you're talking about, every package is a ton of bubble wrap, a ton of packing paper, sometimes packing peanuts. So the cost of my packing supplies is relatively high, but I mean, I just have that worked into my, I know what I want my margin to be, and I work all those costs in on the front end. So,
yeah. And I know like the tricky part for us with, even Lizzie doing clothes and hats, not that it's Whatnot isn't a place to get rid of your junk. People still want top-notch stuff. They want good stuff. So, you're still putting some of your best stuff out there, knowing that you're getting the nickel instead of the dime on it. And, when a show is slow, it's frustrating, and you can kind of ride that a little bit. So I know for us, Whatnot is quite the roller coaster, but when it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some people, though, that are on there, and they've only got 2 people in the whole show. That to me, that's hard to take.
So our first show, we didn't know what we were doing, right? So we had our setup, and we ran it and started it, and no one bid on it, and we're like, it must not be working. Is it working? Is it running for you guys? Not realizing nobody wants anything. There's only 3 people in there, and it throws you off at first.
And to me, that can be a crushing defeat. I mean, that would just push me out. I'd be like, well, forget that.
Well, I mean, and I do tell people, I mean, who ask me about selling on Whatnot, I mean, you have to be able to absorb some losses on the front end, because it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. I mean, it's going to take a while to build your following. And then, like Johnny said, I mean, you can't bring crap to the show. I mean, people still want good stuff, and you just have to know. I mean, you need to start it at the minimum amount you want to take. Don't be starting your stuff at $1.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain people, like Rally Roots can come on there and start stuff at $1, but they got 300 people in their show. But I tend to start stuff. I mean, it's not where I'm going to sell it on eBay, but I started at the absolute minimum amount I want to take to hit whatever margin and my margin targets on Whatnot are different than they are on other platforms.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's look at our top 7 things again real quick before we get off here tonight on our very first episode of the Finders Flippers. Let's see. We were back to just getting started. Again, be a sponge, be yourself, have a game plan, pivot, and be informative. Get your presence out there. Don't force it. And the last one is have fun. I think I agree to all of those, especially with somebody that is looking to get started in the resale game, guys.
yeah. And the good thing is, I think that list can either apply to the social media side of it or the reselling side of it. I mean, they're pretty much the same 7, I think, for whichever one you want to do, or if you want to do both.
Yeah, and there's so many people, there's so many resources now than even, a year or 2 years ago where, you can find somebody with 500,000 subscribers, or, you can find someone with 5 and, different business plans and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people out there you can learn from too.
Well, we are here at the end of the first episode of Finders Flippers, and I want to thank Stewart from Franklin Hill Ventures and Johnny from Frizzy's Finds. I had a great time, guys, and I'm looking forward to doing the next episode.
Pleasure as always.
It's been a good time, and I think it's been very informative for our listeners for sure.
Yeah, I really appreciate you asking me to be here, and nice to meet you, Johnny. And yeah, looking forward to the next one. Let's keep rolling with these.
Let's keep going.
Love it.
Y'all have a great evening.
Bye, guys.
See ya.